right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace, salutations, and blessings be unto the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe, in the sincere hopes of being delivered in these last days. This is the brother Yakanan, and this is going to be an in-transit video. Lord willing, it'll be edifying unto you brothers out there and few sisters listening and also learning, okay? And something I was just thinking about while I'm on the job. I'm on the road right now. And just thinking about how the scriptures tell us how we shall know the truth, and the truth shall set us free, okay? And the freedom that comes with being illuminated with this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, is a beautiful thing. Because when you're in the world, when you're void, of the light, you are a slave, to the ways of this world. And really, you're a slave, to the flesh. And that's not the way, of Yahweh Shai. That's not the way, of our Lord. As the scriptures tell us, the carnal mind is enmity with the Most High. So, when you are now illuminated with this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you begin, your path to the best of your ability, operating in the spirit. And getting rid, of that old man that was a slave, to sin, and was seeking, constant stimulation from fleshly things, okay? When you come into Yahweh Shai, you do away, with that lifestyle. You do away with operating in that vibration. And again, it's a beautiful thing. Now, in the world, you have, the wicked of our people that have rejected this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. They look at us and they look at our lifestyle, being in the spirit, pursuing the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, as being, a form of slavery, all right? Because they're tuned into the flesh. So when they look at us, observing the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai to the best of our ability, of course, and they look at us, making these positive changes to our life and living according to the spirit, that to them is slavery, okay? Because their mind has been fashioned in the way of this world. And they're not going to get it until, the other side, when we go into the kingdom of heaven. And that's why, we have to be very, very appreciative to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai for taking us out of that mindset of not needing to constantly fulfill the lust of the flesh, because it will destroy you, okay? The lust of the flesh and, constantly seeking, validation from this world and demons in this world, and having to always be, stimulated in a fleshly way 24/7, 365, whether it be your ego, whether it be, approval from demons. We mention that every now and again, because that's what this world is all about, seeking approval from demons, because demons run this world. People in a position of power, in this kingdom, they are demons. So in order to get ahead in this world, you have to acclimatize yourself to the ways of the left. Okay? Because that's what is exalted, in this kingdom. All right? Folly. Wickedness. Okay? So having freedom in Yahawashi is a beautiful thing, because we're still in hell and we have to operate and function in this society, but we know right from wrong. Okay? And we understand that in due time, this kingdom, this establishment is going to be destroyed. Okay? So we don't have to operate how the wicked of our people are operating in this kingdom. All right? That's why the scriptures speak about using the world but not abusing it. All right? We do what we can to get by, but within ourselves, we understand that this ain't it. This ain't the end all and be all to our existence. We know that there's a greater kingdom, that's to come, and that's the kingdom of Yahawashi. All right, that's the kingdom that is going to bring forth, complete righteousness, man. That's what we're patiently waiting for, in these last days, man. So that's the freedom, that you get in having this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and having a relationship with Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi. All right, as the scriptures say, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. All right, so the true followers of Yahawashi actually know Yahawashi. Okay, so we know what it is. We know that we're on a spiritual mission. Okay, and we're engaged in a spiritual war, and we're not to become too shrouded, in this wicked kingdom, because it's about to be thrown down and destroyed. And why would you invest in something, put your energy into something, that's about to be destroyed? It doesn't make any sense. Okay? You invest in what you know is a sure bet, so to speak. All right? And that's why the scriptures speak about having a sure, word of prophecy. All right? We're certain concerning, the prophecies of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi and them, coming to pass in these last days. We're certain in that, man. All right? And that goes back to what? It goes back to faith. And that's why the scriptures say, without faith, it is impossible to please him. Okay? So this is what, I've been meditating upon this for the last hour or so. How beautiful it is to have the freedom, in Yahawashi. Not being, enslaved, to the ways of this world, and being held, to a low, abominable standard. Okay? When you have this truth, you operate on a whole different level. You see things different. You process things in your mind different. You make decisions different, okay? Because you have standards, and them standards are the highest standards that you can ever possess in your spirit, because it's the standards of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi, man. Okay? We're not operating, on a base level. We're not operating on the level, of the wicked, of our people. We're operating in integrity. We're operating in, humility. Okay? These are the qualities that you must have, especially in these last days, man. When you're in the world, people don't operate, with integrity. People don't operate, in sincerity and with a godly fear. When they're making their decisions, they're not thinking about how their decision is gonna affect their position, with the creator of all things, with Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi. When we make a decision, we have a conscience, we're aware that there's ramifications to choices that you make and the things that you do, you know, and that's a healthy fear that you must have in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai that keeps you in check. And I always quote, you know, our king, you know, King David, you know, unite my heart to fear thy name, you know. That's what King David said. So it's very important to fear Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, man. Okay? So, you know, this was just a, you know, brief video, all right? Lord willing, you know, it was edifying to you brothers out there and few sisters listening and learning, all right? And until next time, shalom.